What a start by the South Africans. 108 for 1 at lunchtime. Dean Elgar won the toss, got out early himself to a good ball from Mohamed Abbas. But since then, Aiden Markram has played out of his boots, shots all around the ground, and he's made it look very easy out there. Hash is fighting alongside him. South Africa nicely placed. Now, lunchtime today involves the 5 wise men. Ramiz Raja, Michael Holding, Shaun, Pollock, Kevin Pietersen and Faf du Plessis joining us to have a chat about all things cricket as the game evolves through the ages. It naturally changes. Some of those changes are good, some aren't so good. There are things we need to discuss, and first up, Faf is eager to talk about the overrate issue and the fact that at 12 an hour you think you're on the wrong end of a suspension from the game. Tell us more.
Thank you for having me here, guys. It's obviously a pleasure sitting with the big dogs here. No, I wouldn't say harsh in terms of myself. I just felt, you know, with 2 days left in a test match, and we bowled them out twice under 80 overs, like I think it was 50 and 70 overs. So I felt like there was a lot of time left in the game, but obviously we are responsible in making sure we get through the overs. The umpires did speak to me during the duration of the test match saying, listen, you're behind, you're behind. And I said to him, I'm going to try my absolute best to get us through. And we were sprinting every ball with myself and Quinn and Hash in the slips. But it's difficult, you know, with the 4 seamers attack, they can't sprint back to their mark. They have to walk back and rest. Vernon needs to look the batsman in the eye a little bit and show that competitive edge. You can't expect him just to turn around. Dwan is a guy that has got a bit of a lumpy walk back when he goes back. You can't expect him to change that because he bowls a lot of short balls. So it's a combination of a lot of things, but hard for me sitting here watching the boys play on the 3rd test match not being there.
Very hard. Mikey, what would have been the average overrate of that great West Indian attack back in the 80s?
Not much more than what Prof is talking about there, because I can remember on many occasions when the new ball was due, we were getting that new ball just before close of play. So it's all about 80 overs just before close of play. But then those days we only had 6 hours. We didn't get the extra half an hour. And sometimes we would just delay taking that extra second new ball rather until the next day. But we didn't get through many more overs than Faf and current day cricketers are getting through per hour. It's just that those days there was no regulation to say, okay, you're going to find or you're going to be losing overs or anything like that. But today with the regulations, you have got to be very careful.
And in fairness, you wouldn't argue that 12 an hour is too slow, would you?
I agree that it's too slow, but a combination of a lot of things there. So we took a lot of wickets. So obviously when there's wickets, there's huddles and probably stuff that we have to get better at. You know, if there's a wicket falling, perhaps like in one-day cricket, when you play 4 seamers, you have to wait when the batsman is at the crease. But strangely, when we played at SuperSport Park, I mean, Kesh only bowled, I think he bowled about the 40th or the 50th over in the game, and we were 3 overs ahead. So I don't know where we got it wrong. I mean, obviously there will be some time lapses and stuff that we perhaps didn't calculate as well as we should have. But it's just, it just feels weird. As I said, it feels weird getting 12 overs in. Perhaps I could have bowled Dean on that.
Say perhaps I could have bowled.
Bowled Dean. that third session of the 3rd day, when we were behind, that's when you throw a ball to a part-timer and say, listen, just go through the overs quickly, similar to what Pakistan did in that second innings.
That's no good, is it? That's
but
what we want for high-standard cricket, is it?
The problem with that is we wanted to finish the game that night, and we wanted to get a wicket. So I was like, fast bowlers, one big pusher. If we can get the wicket, yeah, we can finish the test match tonight. And we got the wicket, but it was a no ball, and that extra 15 minutes hurt us.
Any answer to this, guys? Anybody got an idea they can put forward?
I think if you win the test match, whether it is finished in 3 days or 4 days, nobody should be pinned. Simple as that, because crowds got the entertainment. We saw a lot of action. 20 wickets went down. And so it wasn't as if the action was stopped midway through because of slow tactics. The tactics were positive. There was energy. And if you win a test match, I think it shouldn't be counted for slow runs.
You've suddenly made yourself the most popular man in South Africa.
Sure. Another point I think we could bring in is whether you want a drinks break or not. If you're picking up wickets, as Faf is suggesting, you bowl, get 5 wickets in the session. Those drinks are coming out regularly. Do you want to now stop for a 3-minute break? I know for TV we need to go and do a few adverts and just play the public, but I think if they can say, listen, our guys are getting drinks on the boundaries, every time there's a wicket everyone's coming out, they can save themselves 3 minutes.
Mikey?
But the problem with that is the umpires take the drinks break into consideration. They get a leeway for the drinks break. So that's not really going to solve the problem. The problem started with the authorities wanting more and more overs in a day. And as Faf said, and as we have seen, teams get Mickey Mouse bowlers on to rush through some overs. That's not what you want at test match level. What the ICC and whoever is responsible for wanting to get these many overs in should do is just say, listen, if it is affecting the cricket, if you are deliberately slowing down your over rate to affect the game itself, we're going to have a look at that. But if the game is flowing, if wickets are falling, if people are being entertained, what's the point of having a set number? I don't believe in setting numbers. If it affects the game, we have a look at it. If it's not affecting the game, carry on.
And Marky, to echo that, the umpires get marked on the decisions that they make, and I actually don't know, because I've never been a match referee, but how governed are the match referees in these circumstances? Do they have to be by the book? Because common sense, where there's not a lot of common sense around, would have it where maybe the umpire should have told South Africa on the third night, going back for 20 overs, try and let the entertainment package that we're trying to build here go for that.
Well,
but also, why is he being punished, like we've all said, when a game finishes in just over 3 days? There is no way in this world he should be punished.
Well, my argument would be that there has to be a regulation, otherwise there will be cynicism, and teams that are losing matches will slow the over rate down to 8, 9 an hour.
Well,
but that's what Mikey says.
Away with it.
Look at the intent. Look at the intent, I say. And I think
Exactly.
And a people survey will not be bad as well. Just ask people what they want, basically. If they're having a look at the action, if the things are happening and moving fast, and if they're happy with it.
Faf?
Yeah, you finished. Sorry, Ramiz.
Yeah, if they're happy with it, go for it.
Just on his point, I think if the game lasted 5 days and it was only 70 or 80 overs a day, it's fair enough. You're slowing the play down. It could be a result that you rob the public of, slow of play. But if it's 3 or 4 days, you're making up that time anyway. So I think there should be a little bit leniency when it comes to when the game's finished before.
Lastly on this point, it wasn't a first offence, was it? Was there some? What was the other occasion?
Same thing.
Second in 12 months,
same thing. And minor offence. So when you 4 minutes down, you get
So
penalised.
Faf, don't play 4 seamers, especially against Pakistan.
That's the thing.
Don't. Just tweak the strategy.
Try telling that to Clive Lloyd all those years ago.
If you take one-day cricket, I mean, at least in one-day cricket that's even worse, because now they're saying for one-day cricket you don't get allowances for wickets. So now you lose that time as well. So that will be even more pressure. So possibly play 2 spinners for the one-days.
I say just get on with it, Faf. Bowl your overs faster. Get the guys moving quicker between the wickets. Thank you. Interesting. Let's move this on. We've got a lot of subjects to get through in this lunch period. You're worried, KP, about Test match cricket's promotion. Not so much worried about the game, which has had a good year, but the fact that competitions such as the IPL and the Big Bash are taking over in terms of crowd interest.
I think it's taking over in terms of crowd interest because players are also placing it as a priority mark, and that's where my issue comes into it. I think each player is a business. Each player that walks out there, you've got 22 players on show today, every single one of them is a business. And when you start to talk about, I can go and work for 6 weeks for $1 million, 7 weeks for $2 million, I can go now play 3 or 4 tournaments around the year for as many. I mean, I did this for 5 years. And the money you earn there is more than what you earn playing Test cricket. So when you look at this scenario and you play in front of, we had 85,000 people watching us playing at the MCG. So you get that buzz, you get that excitement. But you know what you don't get? You don't get that respect from your peers for playing Test cricket. Because no matter how many T20 innings this Faf plays for the Chennai Super Kings or for Pune when we played together, or for South Africa, that 100 that he scored at Newlands the other day is something that will be remembered a lot more by me, who's played Test match cricket, by all these gentlemen, mighty fine cricketers, and all the other Test cricketers. But the promotion of the game needs to be where stadiums need to be full. The ICC has enough money to make sure that these tickets that come in here, 10 Rand. 5 Rand. Get the stadiums full, but also pay these guys a hell of a lot of money to place Test cricket as a priority. Because if they place Test cricket as a priority, the priority will also be with the public to know that these guys are committed to the longer form of the game.
It's worth pointing out that the first day at the MCG in an Ashes match would get 85,000, that Centurion was pretty much full on Boxing Day. That certain days of Test match cricket are still hugely attractive. I'm going to come to Faf in a second. I've got a question about, but yes, you wanted to say something. Right?
Yeah, you know, in Asia, the biggest problem to feature Test cricket is scheduling. Because nobody knows how many Test matches are going to be played in Asia, whether it's going to be a 2 Test match series or 3 or 5. So you cannot then execute your plans as a viewer, as a guy who wants to visit the stadium. Because
so you mean the whole global
the
Will
scheduling in
the World
Asia
Test Match
is a mess.
Championship help that?
Sorry?
Will the World Test Match Championship help that?
Yeah, I think so, but that needs to be finished within a window of 5 or 4 months. It just cannot linger on for a couple of years. I think just stop every other form of cricket. Just concentrate on World Championship for the next 5 months. Just get Test cricket up there.
Test matches become the priority, and then Kev's point about all the marketing pointed towards that tournament will become relevant rather than diminished by what happens in the short forms. What about the players? Is there a danger of young players you're now coming across thinking that the way forward, because it's easier and you earn more, is the short form of the game?
I mean, KP has it spot on. I think from a player's point of view, and we've gone through this internally as well. Spoken about the test players in our system. How can we get them more money to stay here and play for South Africa and not go and play county cricket overseas? How can you do that? Because they are just as important as the white ball specialists that travel the world, but they've got the opportunity to go and play on the circuit where the test specialist players, they don't have the opportunity. So one, you want to keep them, but also your second part of your question is how do you then keep the kids? Because the kids will do the same thing. They'll look at T20 players and they'll look at all the leagues, they'll look at the money. The parents will probably say, listen, there's a future for you to go and play. Just hit sixes, just hit fours, just bowl, wrist spin or whatever it is, because that's where the game's going. So you have to try and pull it back to how can you remain Test cricket as the focus in the international sport.
It's what your heroes do, though, Faf. It's what your heroes, is what you as captain of South Africa does. It's not what De Villiers has just done, and I know De Villiers has his own reasons for leaving, but De Villiers, you could see him still here, not playing in the Pakistan Super League in a month's time, but playing here against Pakistan in a Test match, being at Newlands last week. And I know he's probably a bad example because he's finished his career and he's done what he's done. He's done what he's done, and that's absolutely fine. But he's relevant because he's South African.
Mikey, you're pretty strong on this, I know.
Yeah, well,
He loves T20 cricket.
Yeah, I love it a great deal. I believe, as KP has said, that Test cricket needs promotion. They're going to tell you, how can you promote something that is not as lively as 2020 cricket? Simple. Provide better standard of Test cricket. I know this will never happen, Mark, and I've said it ad nauseum. It won't happen, but they need 2 divisions in Test match cricket so that you have more competitive cricket. A lot of Test cricket is being played now where nobody wants to be watching. What's the point of watching one team that is so far superior to the other play against another team and just demolishing them? Why watch that? So have divisions where the best teams play against each other, but they also play against the lesser teams to help those lesser teams. Right. But the thing is, the money has got to be improved. And ICC have got to get involved. As KP said, a proposal was put to the ICC years ago now. Have a pot where the ICC tournaments, all the different tours around the world, contribute to this pot, and that pot can help the lesser countries who don't have the amount of money that the big countries have. You'll never see that either because there's too much selfishness.
Well, I couldn't, I mean, there's no better way of putting it than that. You share this out a lot better than it's shared out at the moment. I think it's quite a complex issue, but I think the general notion of promoting Test match cricket in a way that it's never been promoted before, to make it special, is very important, something that the game could look at closely. Relevant point. You're concerned about touring teams not spending long enough in the countries they're travelling to, getting used to conditions, and in particular that does apply to this series, and some pitches that have been hard for any team, never mind a touring team that's underprepared.
Yeah, I think the product is what we're discussing here, aren't we? And in order to have interest in Test cricket, you have to have closely contested matches. So you can't have teams rocking up and being rolled over in the first 2, and then by the 3rd Test they sort of got a feel for it. as of late, we've had 3 examples. India have gone to Australia, they've won there. New Zealand went to UAE, they've won there. And England went to Sri Lanka and they've won there. So maybe there is a bit of an improvement. But maybe Faf can answer the point. Firstly, on some of the surfaces we've seen in South Africa, I don't think they've been great. The last 2 test matches, I think they've been pretty average, where guys are sort of fearing for injury. I don't mind assistance, but those don't make for good viewing, particularly when the team's not used to those conditions. And what are they going to do as South Africa? Last time we went to India, we were swept under the carpet and really maltreated. That's the next test tour. What sort of preparation? How many practice games? In the schedules, what does it allow? Because you want guys to be ready to be able to perform, to compete.
All right, well, let's start by asking Faf, in an ideal world, if you could have longer to prepare for a tour of England, Australia, or India, wherever it may be, would you have it?
The scheduling is the problem. Like, I mean, I take it back to the Indian series when we went there last time. There wasn't a lot of time before the series because you have playing against this country, then this country, then there's IPL, then there's World Cup. So hopefully this time there is time for us to go to India a little bit sooner. I mean, Australia was a good example. I think they went to Dubai for 2 weeks before the Indian series, prepared really well, got used to the spinning pitches. But to answer his first part of his question, I think there's a general trend in pitches around the world that it doesn't last as long as it used to. I remember watching South Africa play in India, and it was always first innings was 400 plays 400, good wickets, and then day 3, 4 and 5 used to spin and reverse swing played a part. Now when you go there, our 4 test matches that we played there, all was finished within 3 days, 2.5 days, all of them 200 plays, 180 plays, 120. So the general trend around the world is that wickets are a little bit more in favour of the home team than it used to be.
Well, then, is there a danger that with the World Test Match Championship and the riches on offer, if you reach the final of that home pitches will be prepared even more to favour the side that needs a result?
I agree, but I mean, I think we should speak about how can you bring that competition between home and away back to where it used to be. I mean, I made a suggestion, but I don't know if that will change. But
which was?
The toss. You just take the toss away for the home side, because you go to India, for example, you lose the toss, you're gone. Like the chances...
You're gone.
Yes, you're gone.
I'm with you with that.
The chances, they're still going to prepare the same wickets, but at least you're not going to be batting last.
So the away side always gets to choice, or you go alternate matches?
They choose what they want to do. They get there.
What do you think, Ramiz?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, especially if you want to survive in Asian conditions. I totally agree. I think batting there on the 3rd and the 4th day is going to be tough.
You look at the pitch, it looks a bit green. You go, right, this is what we want to do. Yeah. It might not have a massive influence, but I think it will bring
rebalance
it a little bit.
Love it. Okay, very good. We're happy with that. Excellent. Can we just spend a minute on Pakistan? I think we're all concerned that Pakistan doesn't have home test match cricket, and obviously the main centres Lahore and Karachi, but other parts of the country too. Imran is now running the country. Is there a chance that he'll improve the situation, particularly the very awkward situations we know about, settle for having cricketers back in the country? Do you think, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's worried about it as well. Faf was there leading World 11. What was it, last year?
Yeah.
And he must have sampled the passion of the people and how much they want cricket to be relaunched back in Pakistan. And it is a sad story. I was just quoted the other day on commentary that Asad Shafiq has played something like 70 test matches, not a single test match at home. That is hard for him, and that is hard for the fans as well. And there's less turbulence there now back home with regard to security and all. And I think this year's PSL really will determine how far are we from that target of relaunching cricket back home in Pakistan, because we're playing something like 8 to 10 matches in Lahore and Karachi.
How did you find it there?
Security was amazing. Initially, like, you have that, okay, we're going back to Pakistan for the first time, that normal feelings that goes through your brain. But as soon as we landed there, the security was... We joked about it, but it was like a Hollywood movie. There was snipers on the roof, there was bulletproof trucks. Yeah. We even had put the masks on ourselves to play a little. Like, it was amazing to experience that. But the passion is something that you cannot explain to people. That the people of Pakistan are so hungry to see cricket back in their country.
So, if you were asked as captain of South Africa whether you'd be happy to tour Pakistan with your national team, you would?
I think that's a very tricky question for me to answer, because there is a lot of other interference that I possibly can't speak about. But for myself and my own point of view, I've been there. I saw that the security was good. I think certain cities are obviously a little bit more safer, they say, to go to. So maybe as a starting point, you start there. and play it around. And then I think, as he's saying, it's going in the right direction at least.
Well, Kev made a very good point earlier about heroes. You have to have heroes if you're going to develop children's interest in the game. And there's no doubt that the great sort of legacy of Pakistan cricket and all the great heroes came out of kids watching the Imran Khans and the Wasim Akrams and the Waqar Yunuses and the Javed Miandad. So it's a very important part of the evolution of the game in Pakistan, and we hope that the work continues to try to sort this difficult issue out. Mikey's got a couple of bugbears about DRS and umpiring. You'll be interested in these. We'll come to catches in a minute, but first of all, a little point that Mikey's picked up on: when a run was not allowed for a turn-down DRS review. Have a look at this. Mikey, talk us through it.
Yeah, this is something that the ICC have got to look at. If this was the last ball of the test match and they needed that run to win the test match, he's given out. So that means the ball is dead. He has to go back to his mark. When it's referred, the umpire says, no, it was not out. But yet he doesn't get the run. He doesn't get the leg by. And there are no balls left in the test match. So they have lost a test match that they should have won because of an umpiring decision. An umpire made a mistake, and me, as a batting team, have suffered. The ICC have got to look at things like that.
I've got a great question, because we've actually spoken about this. T20 World Cup, you play...
I thought we were talking cricket.
No, I'm saying we're talking cricket. Oh, one-day game, whatever. Last ball of the innings. You need a one-run to win. You bowl a Yorker, it's down leg, you appeal, dead ball, they run, but what happens? Who wins?
You don't win the game.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. But you got to run. Even if there was bat involved, but he gave it out.
Do you know that was raised, wasn't it, in the last World Cup? James Taylor batting against Australia. Do you remember that? And there was an appeal, yes, and he wasn't allowed the run, and it meant he didn't go to 100
England,
or something.
Australia.
England, Australia, in Melbourne,
controversy
right at the start of the World Cup. So ICC, there's a really interesting thing for the cricket committee to get their teeth into and maybe resolve. The DRS problem with the low catches, we've had a couple of very tight ones in this series. Do we know any other way forward of solving an issue of a two-dimensional plane of a three-dimensional fact? I don't know.
It's going to be difficult to solve that problem. But I think it's just down to the protocol that the umpires need to follow. I had a long discussion with a couple of the umpires at the last test match. They heard what I was saying on television, and one umpire, who was a third umpire, said, but Mikey, you have thrown it to me, asking me what do I think. I said, no, you're not throwing it to you, asking you what you think. Once it gets to the third umpire, you no longer have a thought or an opinion. It's what the facts say. And the third umpire can only change the decision on the field if he's absolutely sure that what took place was wrong. He can't change the decision because of what he thinks, and that's what the third umpires have got to realize. This is no longer a matter of, oh, I've thrown it to you, tell us what you think. I've thrown it to you for you to tell me if the pictures tell me something different from what I saw. And they have the wrong idea.
And the soft signal as well.
Yeah, the soft signal.
If the soft signal is for out, then you've got to look for out. Make sure that you look.
There's a line. You've got to look for out, not look for not
That's
out.
how I understand it as a captain. And I mean, there's a lot of grey area with this. I've been in the offices there of the third umpire a lot about this specific issue. Is if the umpire gives you out, you need to find evidence to completely overturn the decision.
Yep.
That's how I understand it.
Yes, definitely.
That's the rule. But different umpires, the third umpires, they see this differently. They see this as a grey area. So different personnel view it differently. So some guys, a soft out, an LBW for example, if you've given me soft out, for me you need to find a lot wrong to overturn it. But it comes down to his point. They go, okay, maybe it's my decision to make the call.
Not.
So if it's a soft signal, you have to have
Follow
clear
the soft
evidence.
signal. Yeah.
Otherwise, take away the soft signal,
Yeah.
and the third umpire makes a decision.
Correct.
So were those two catches out or not out?
I was sitting in the batting dressing room, and when I saw it, I said to the guys, the soft signal is out. So for me, I think it's going to be given out.
Both of them, or just the first one?
Well, the first one set the tone for the series. You couldn't then go back on the second one because it was already. Yeah. So I sit in the dressing room, and I think that if that was us, I would feel hard done by because the soft signal was
out. Would you agree that in general, cricket people kind of know, you can see something and know the fingers were underneath the ball?
That's the thing. Back in the day, you caught it, you go, I caught it, and the guys believed you. These days, I mean, it's almost getting worse and worse and worse. Right. Like you actually as a fielder catch it, and you feel it go in, and you're convinced, but now you're so scared. Do I claim it because like it might look like a cheat or something? Okay. So like you.
All right. We've got 2 minutes. And what we're going to do is lighten things up and look forward to the World Cup in England, a tournament yet to be won by South Africa, won by the West Indies, the very first tournament at Lord's in 1975 against the Australians in a thriller, and then won again in 1979 by the West Indians. Who's your favourite for the World Cup in England, Kev?
In England, if it's overcast and it's not such a good summer, then England. If the weather's good, then it could go a subcontinent way. But England, I think, are definitely favourites, especially if Jofra Archer plays in that World Cup for England. England will win that World Cup.
Well, there's a call. Pakistan candidates?
You see, since the pitches will be managed by ICC, so England will not have that straightforward advantage. I think team from Asia. Team from Asia.
Team from Asia. Mikey?
No, I have England as big favourites, to be honest. The team that England have got now in one-day cricket, playing under English conditions, whether it's overcast or not, I think that team is the best team in the world with one-day cricket right now. They might not win, not all favourites win, but I have them as the favourites.
Thank you, Shaun.
England, India and us, of course. I've got to have faith in my captain to be able to take us over the line.
So nice.
But I do think the conditions aren't going to be the same. We went there, played the 99 World Cup there. The conditions were over-prepared. They weren't nibblers like you found in the county circuit. I think those services will play unbelievably well, and that's why I believe that India will challenge England with South Africa close third.
Last word with the South African captain.
You asking me who the...
Definitely.
I think hands down, England are the favourites. They've got the best one-day side on paper. That comes with a different pressure that they're not used to, going to a tournament expecting it to win, so they need to deal with that. India is always very, very powerful when it comes to ICC events. They play the big match as well. Pakistan proved in the ICC Champions Trophy that they are dark horses. South Africa, we're going with a different approach this time around. Hopefully our bowling attack will win us a World Cup.
Outstanding. Thank you for joining us. 5 wise men and true at lunchtime on day 1. South Africa 108 for 1. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.